Chapter 63. The Chivalrous Man. Isn't this pointing at Guhai's face? As soon as the crowd's earlier discussion, Guhai's party instantly knew what was written in this scroll. Li Shenji's eyes lit up, revealing a faint smile as he held his wine cup and took a sip, looking in the direction of Guhai. Long Wenyu also heard the name Tahon returning army, and also knew what was in the scroll. This was cursing her brother-in-law. Long Wenyu was no longer nervous, but also understood that King Shikong was unsettled. Long Wenyu's eyes glared, about to stand up and kick over the wine table. However, Guhai was the one who suddenly pulled Long Wenyu's hand and stopped her. "Brother-in-law, what are you pulling me for? This old thing is unsettled," Long Wenyu instantly shouted. "Heh, it's fine. If someone else sends a gift, we'll just take it. I'll also take a look. What the hell is the thing that's written?" Guhai said with a smile. But Long Wenyu was slightly stunned. Guhai smiled and shook his head. "Fine." Long Wenyu nodded, but still glared at King Shikong. King Shikong, however, smiled and looked at Guhai, Ziwei and Chongsheng. "Gifted to us, 3 of us, and only 1 gift for us. How can this be divided? Sure is stingy as hell." Chongsheng said with a displeased face. "Really stingy. Eat also not give us enough to eat. Just now I also heard that the banquet to invite a guest is also to each other to put together a share. Now 3 people, only send a gift. How stingy." Ziwei also nodded. The voices of Ziwei and Chongsheng muttering were not loud, but at this moment everyone was quiet, holding their breath, waiting for Guhai's change of color after seeing the contents. The duo's voices instantly traveled to everyone's ears. It also traveled to the entire city of Metropolis. Countless people also blushed with embarrassment. King Shikong asked with a smile, "Look at what? In this scroll, either write a broken words or draw a broken picture. We are going to vomit when we look at it. Really stingy. It's good to send some food." Chongsheng dissatisfied. "Yes. How stingy?" Ziwei nodded. Obviously, Chongsheng and Ziwei didn't know what was inside yet. King Shikong's right hand, which was placed under the table, had already been clenched into a fist. The veins on his fists were straight up. These 2 fools, are they truly stupid or fake? It's fine. King Shikong still wants to show off with his gift, so we'll follow the customs. Guhai smiled slightly. "What do you mean by giving gifts and still wanting to show off a bit? Do you know how to speak? Am I that kind of person? Why is this Guhai talking so obnoxiously, just like those 2 goods?" However, Guhai promised to open the scroll in public, so King Shikong could only smile at Guhai, waiting for you to open it. "See how this poem will make you go down. Someone, fetch the desk so that King Shikong can show off the gift he gave," Guhai commanded. King Shikong smiled stiffly and didn't give a word. The crowd of officials and the 200 million people of Metropolis, however, could see the anger underneath King Shikong's stiff smile, and there was a pang of heartache. Is this slapping Guhai's face or smacking his own face? Why does it look a little off? The desk was set in front. The scroll was placed on top. "Let me open it. What in the world is this crap inside that needs to be shown off like this?" Ziwei walked forward. Nojisa grabbed one end of the scroll, and Ziwei slowly pressed against the desk to spread it out. The scroll gently opened, and a white light shot up to the sky. Buzz! Like a white meteor, it shot straight up into the sky above the clouds. Boom! Steeply, with the white meteor's light pillar as the center, a gust of wind steeply rolled up around it, as if it was a tornado. Surrounding this white meteor light pillar, rumble. Above the sky, rolling dark clouds steeply gathered, circling around the top of the light pillar, slowly rotating. A burst of thunder rang out. All of a sudden, a large amount of rainwater drifted down above the rotating giant clouds. The rain fell and was swept in all directions by the gale. White light shone in a magnificent manner. Vast and righteous Jie. This is the first scroll. The first stroke of the book Dao. Chong Sheng was slightly stunned. The stroke falls to frighten the wind and rain. Vast and righteous Jie is born. Ziwei was also slightly stunned. But this is the meteor rushing to the sky. The vastness is endless. What a great volume of Shu Dao. What is written? To Hon returning to the army. A gentleman never goes to a villain. A villain is like grass that goes and grows. But to encourage the heart to naturalize, there is no need for the district to fight. Isn't this cursing Gu Hai? That Gu Hai is a villain. It turns out that King Shikong gave this scroll. Ha ha ha. The pen falls to frighten the wind and rain. And the righteousness comes out. Good poem, good poem. King Shikong wrote it well. These three villains, just don't give them face. Countless people in the city shouted their approval. In the restaurant, Fairy Winner's face sank, revealing a hint of anxiety. In another small courtyard, Sima Changkong and the Divine Martial King raised their heads to open the sky. And when they saw the huge heavenly phase in the picture, the two of them frowned slightly. Mr. Sima, don't you think this poem is good? The Divine Martial King looked at Sima Changkong. It's all right. Sima Changkong didn't comment much. The name of the ancient sea, starting today, is going to be crushed by this one poem. The Divine Martial King, a long huff, somewhat regretful. Sima Changkong didn't say anything, but looked at the picture in the sky. The people in the metropolis hooted and hollered. Some officials from the Five Mountains Academy also chimed in. Good one to Hon returned to the army. Good one shameless villain. Some officials laughed with the accompanying drinks. On the other hand, Mo Yaika, Qin Zibai, and Chong Sheng led their own supporters, but did not utter a word. King Shikong, however, stroked his beard, revealing a smug look, but his eyes were sharply fixed on those three. The Ziwei and Chong Sheng duo were both heavenly level pens. Their appreciation ability was still there, and their faces instantly sank. I wonder if the three of you are still satisfied with this poem. King Shikong lightly laughed. How could Ziwei and Chong Sheng shout at this poem that clearly cursed them? The shouts of all the people around them also showed the mockery of the three of them. Long when you immediately about to blow up. Gu Hai, however, suddenly laughed lightly, barely passable, but nothing more. The insulting laughter of the surrounding group of officials came to an abrupt end. Not bad, nothing more than that. Ziwei and Chong Sheng shouted at once. Wow. At this moment, the people in the city were also in an uproar. The stroke of a pen chopped the wind and rain, and the vast righteousness appeared. And this was still nothing more than that. This Gu Hai was doing it on purpose, right? That's right. How could a shameless villain understand the essence of King Shikong's book Dao? How could he understand the great righteousness of the book Dao? In the banquet, above the square, the group of officials were about to count down, but King Shikong's eyes suddenly lit up. Hey ha ha. Mr. Gu said nothing more than that. So, Mr. Gu can certainly write better than this. Today's meeting between the two countries. Why don't you also compose a poem? Let's also see how much literary talent the great Jian envoy that Mr. Gu represents has. King Shikong said with a steep laugh. Let Gu Hai write a poem on behalf of the great Jian mission. The crowd of officials immediately looked towards King Shikong, who was indeed far-sighted. Let Gu Hai write. Gu Hai surely cannot write. This is not only to humiliate these three villains, but also to suppress the great Qian's anger. All. The group of officials are quiet, staring at Gu Hai. It is your own words, but only a little, then you write all. Li Shenji sat aside and did not interrupt, as if also waiting for Gu Hai to make a fool of himself. Mr. Gu, what? You don't dare to write. You write one that is not nothing more than that for us to see. King Shikong laughed. At this moment, in the city of Metropolis, Fairy Winner was in a state of anxiety, and all directions were filled with voices counting Guhai's lack of self-importance. On the screen, Guhai, however, picked up a cup of wine, took a sip and laughed. In my book Dao, it's also mediocre. Mr. Gu doesn't dare to write, King Shikong said aggressively. Heh, but it's not very difficult to surpass this poem, right? Guhai laughed. King Shikong raised his eyebrows, revealing a hint of disbelief. Ziwei, Chongsheng. This time, I've tired you two to suffer from this wrongdoing. This time, I'll send you to a chivalry poem to right the wrongs of you two. Guhai spoke. Chivalry, the surrounding group of officials, revealed a hint of doubt. Chivalry, just these two backstabbing villains. Hey haha, King Shikong laughed disdainfully. I'll say, trouble everlasting grinding. Ziwei writing, Guhai said in a deep voice. Good. The two of them answered at once. At that instant, Bingji instructed to set up a desk once again, and Ziwei Chongsheng started grinding, waiting for Guhai to dictate. Everyone looked at Guhai, composing a poem. You're just trying to kill yourself. You can do it too. And chivalry. These two villains are still chivalrous. No matter how much the crowd despised it, Guhai's dictation had already begun. The hanks of Amen and Hu, the dry hooks of frost and snow are bright. The silver saddle shines on the white horse, sounding like a shooting star. 10 steps to kill a man, 10,000 miles to leave no trace. After the matter whisks away the clothes, deeply hiding the merits and fame. As Guhai dictated, Ziwei wrote it out with a single stroke. Ziwei is a heaven-level pen. The pen power is even more amazing. And the book Dao intention has reached the extreme. A write down, white light rushes to the sky. Jiao Ke Amen Hu tassel, Wu Hook Frost Snow Ming. The silver saddle shines on the white horse, sounding like a shooting star. Once the two pentameter lines came out, nearly everyone's contemptuous smiles suddenly converged. What a neat, sprightly poem. It's as if there's an indescribable, unruly, and uninhibited aura in it. Sima Changkong in the metropolis was surprised. Boom! As soon as the two lines came out, a vast and righteous chair that was even thicker than to the Han returning army rushed up to the sky, as if it was a bigger meteor that blasted straight up to the 9 heavens, illuminating the surrounding heaven and earth in general. King Shikong's face also changed. Guhai can compose poetry. How is that possible? The officials also changed their faces. How can it be? Guhai wrote a poem in 5 lines. The mood description. Long poems are harder to make than short poems. Zihong Guijun is just a short poem with 2 lines, but can Guhai write more? It's not going to fall apart, is it? 10 steps to kill a man, 10,000 miles to leave no trace. The chivalrous man pounced on the crowd, pointing straight to the heart, killing one person at 10 steps and leaving no one behind at 10,000 miles, instantly depicting the image of the chivalrous man in the first 2 sentences. Boom, boom, boom. When the matter was over, he whisked his clothes away and hid his achievements and fame. Rumble. Another 20 meteoric pillars, a vastly positive chair, shot up into the sky. An aura of out of the darkness came over the face. In the middle of the metropolis, Hu. Sima Changkong stood up abruptly. Kill a man at 10 steps. Do not leave a trail for 10,000 miles. Brush off your clothes after the matter is over, and hide your achievements and fame deep down. Good poem, good poem. Hey haha. Mr. Gu's calligraphy Dao is actually also so powerful. What a breath of dust. Chivalrous. What a chivalrous man, Sima Changkong said excitedly. The people of the city, at this moment, also looked dumbfounded. How is it possible? How Ranzheng chair? That terrifying How Ranzheng chair. It's dozens of Dao, more than King Shikong's. How can it be? 10 steps to kill a man, 10,000 miles to leave no trace. When the matter is over, brush off your clothes and hide your achievements and fame deep in your heart. Why do I get goosebumps just reading it? It's so scary and atmospheric. Looking back at the two Han's returning army, why do I have the feeling that I can't watch it? Chivalry. Is that about those two villains? Are those two villains chivalrous? When Li Bai's poem comes out, who will compete with him? Still writing. Still not finished. There's more. The faces of the people in the city changed. However, they saw the screen. Gu Hai continued to dictate, and Ziwei continued to put pen to paper. Chivalry is not just for short lines. There is more behind it.